All right, welcome to 2020. This is my first tutorial with doing characters, and this is going to be Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy. So we're just going to start off the face. The very first thing I did was to make sure that I blocked out my eyebrows because I don't need my natural eyebrows for this. Just a little bit of glue and some powder, and you will be able to find that tutorial. I'm going to work on that here in the next couple of days. We will be able to see that tutorial on how to do that specifically. So I'm working right now with some Mehron Paradise paint. This silver comes, you can either buy bigger blocks of it. I think they come in a 1 ounce, 2 ounce bottle, or 1.4 ounce container, and then there's also a pallet of them. So I'm just kind of blocking out Nebula's eyepiece and the piece that's at the top of her hair. Just kind of making sure that I get just the rough shape. I'm not too worried about details yet. I'm just kind of blocking out where I want everything to be and making sure that everything looks as close to the reference photos as I can. I am looking at a lot of reference photos just to make sure that everything works correctly. And so now I'm going to be moving on to the blue, just basic shaping of the face, just making sure because we will be using blue and a lot of purple. Notice with the silver, I'm not doing a lot of detail at all. Just kind of adding more shapes onto it, making it look more blocky and metallic-y, and like it would be a piece of metal on the face. And then back to the blues. Let's go. We're going to start filling in the rest of the face with some color here. So we're going to start with the blue. I notice I'm not going too far back just yet. Mostly because I'm not worried about that part. It's going to come in a little bit later. I can only go so far back along the side of my head because you can only see so far backwards before you either need to have a mirror to work on it or have someone else do that painting for you. So I'm just going to worry about the front right now, just the front side of the face. The rest of it's going to be a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is, again, with the Mehron Paradise paint, that is water activated. And so you want to make sure that you're mixing it just right. Not too much water because you don't want it to be watery and runny. That would just it'll just fall off your face a little bit easier. You want it to be a little bit thick, so you want to make sure you mix it very well. And then it just kind of goes on like a water paint and just like paint, like you're painting a canvas. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. So now we're getting ready to just fill the rest of it in with purple. So make sure we get in all the purple because that's going to be the main color that's left for this. So we're just going to block in all that purple. So I'm just kind of filling in all the rest. And notice again, I'm not going to color in the beard. I'm not going to fill in the beard because I'm actually going to incorporate that into the look. So I'm going to kind of just fill it in and work around, and then also go up through to the eyes and then up to the forehead. So I'm going to just kind of fine detail, not doing fine details again yet. We will come back to those details in just shortly to fill in all that silver. But here I'm just going to, again, filling in all the purple that is listed and coming out onto the face at this point. So just filling in all these spots that are left with tan beige colors that are still there. So you're just kind of filling all that part. All right, and then I did decide in the end I was going to color the eye in with a little bit more blue. She does have that part of her eye is still blue in the reference photos, so I was wanting to look at that more carefully before I painted it. So I wanted to make sure. Some people don't actually paint their eyes until the very end because they don't like to mess with their contacts while they're painting. So I always do contacts at the beginning just because I have a hard time seeing. I do wear glasses typically, so I just kind of make sure that I get everything in there beforehand so I can see what I'm doing. So I don't need to worry about putting in contacts later. I do that at the beginning. All right, time for some detailing on that metal part. So let's kind of all I'm doing right now is making basic lines. So I'm just doing black lining around all the pieces to to give it that outer edge, and then I'm going to start shaping all the details on that eyepiece. Again, the detailing on this is completely up to you when you're working on all this, but the more details, I will say, the more details that you put in, the better it's going to look. I mean, they may be small, tiny little details, but the more you can do, the better off this is going to look in the long run. So you want to kind of watch that as you're going, just kind of put in all the details as much as possible. So again, right now I'm just kind of referencing as much of the video or the photos as I can, and I'm just going to go through and add all these details as much as possible. It's not going to be 100% accurate. It's very hard to be 100% accurate with that when you're working with just body paints. And doing it yourself. So what I'm doing is just kind of doing the basics of the look, and then just kind of adding in my own details as well. I was very pleased with the end result in the end. So very making sure, get little bits of pieces here, little bits of pieces there, just filling in little bits of details as you go, to making this turn out exactly how I needed it to look. And one piece I did want to add in is she does have a little piece of metal right in between her eye there. So I wanted to make sure I added that in before I continued on any further. So once I let the purple dry and the blue dry, you kind of see it's not completely solid. So I went ahead and filled in what I needed. There were some parts that needed a little bit of extra coloring on it. So now I'm just doing, again, I'm continuing on with these detailings, going through and adding the line work on the face, just going through. And we're going to take this up to the side of the head and also along the side of the hair as well, because again, I'm incorporating that coloring into the hair, into the look. So we're just kind of building that up. So I'm not going to color in the top of my hair, just because when you're looking at it from the front, you're not going to see it. Some people do. I chose not to. I do also color in my lips, just make sure, because you want to complete the look all the way down as much as possible. So here's where something this is very new to me is coloring in the ears. You have to really just get in there, because it's the only way to do it. You have to make sure you just really get in there. So here I'm kind of filling in the ears, and I'm also pulling that color a little bit further back, down back to the sides of my head, as far back as I can go without really straining to see. All right, so now I'm adding more of the blue metallic color onto the face. There's just the same as the silver metallic powder. I'm using one of my bigger brushes for that to add just a little bit of texture on top of the solid blue that's in there. So that metallic color, you have your flat blue underneath, and you add a little bit of metallic on top. It's going to give you a pop of extra little bit of color, a little bit of shine everywhere that's not completely the solid blue and metallic. So it kind of gives you that illusion that it's organic in a way. And here I'm adding more details down the side of the headpiece, just getting that going all the way back as far as I can, incorporating that those makeups or the makeup into the beard and the hairline as much as possible. All right, time for the beard. Like I said, I do incorporate my beard into most of my makeups as much as possible. So here, what I'm still using the Mehron Paradise paint, using one of my thicker brushes for the makeup, and just getting the makeup in there as much as possible. You can also use a toothbrush, an old toothbrush that you're not going to use anymore, to get that color into the beard. This makes the beard really pop with that black color. And I'm trying to fill in as much as I possibly can with that black. Just really getting that in there. And we're just filling in those edge lines right next to the black. And now the black is a little bit wet still, so it kind of blended just a little bit with the blue. But that's okay, because we're going to add a little bit more of that blue metallic color to really make those pops. And here I am now. I'm using the my palettes, my eyeshadow palettes, to really just fill in the details of that eyepiece. I wanted to add a little bit more detail onto that, so I'm going to add whatever I feel like I can add on there and just make it look really good. So now I'm just kind of adding the details, the shading with the black powder, and just adding shading to make it look more realistic as possible throughout the face. And the last thing I think I did, so we're gonna, we need to add our eyebrow, which again, I do most of my eyebrows with the Paradise paint. It's just a solid color, so I'm just kind of blocking it out there as best as possible, making sure that looks as solid as we can get it. And then the final touch for all this, we're going to add, 2 more steps. I want to make sure that we get the illusion of a different brow ridge than what I currently have. So I'm going to paint that on, change the look of that to make it look a little bit different. When I'm working in the purples, I'm using a darker purple than the purple, the Paradise paint that I am working. I am working currently with the powder palettes to do this. I'm going to use a darker blue on top of the blue and a darker purple on top of the purple. Here I am adding more blue, the metallic blue, and I'm also going to add a little bit more metallic purple. Again, this is just adding a little bit more texture and levels to the paint. And the final thing that we have to do is do the lips. So I usually also use the Paradise paint on the lip as well. So what I do is I'm just going to start with a darker color all around. So we're going to do a darker purple all around the lip. And then after we get that purple on there, I'm going to go to bring out my detailing paintbrush again. And we're going to just paint on a black ring around the edge. And then also fill in the corners of the lips. So it's going to give the lips just a little bit more dimension. And then finally, the last step is to add a little bit of lighter color in the center. And there's my look.